The bolts. Yeah, see, man, the question is this. You keep talking about the lag bolts, right?
Yeah.
And the nuts. Do they have to be stainless steel? Does the code address that?
Code doesn't require whether they be stainless steel or galvanized. But there's a difference between an epoxy bolt, and there's a difference between a through bolt, and there's a difference between an anchor bolt that is just a sleeve anchor.
Right.
These are what called sleeve anchors. So can you pull out a sleeve anchor?
No.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay, so you can pull out a sleeve anchor. Can you pull out an epoxy bolt that has melted itself, glued itself to all the bricks around it?
I'm gonna say no.
No. So this is a great one because you guys are gonna love this one. Who has this building?
I think Alvin.
So do you understand? The only thing you can do with these fire escapes is they must be cemented into the bricks 8 to 12 inches deep.
Okay.
Those epoxy, that's not epoxy bolts. Those are sleeve anchors.
Okay. Right.
So they have a tendency to pull out.
Because
So he only has one choice. And second, this fire escape was Mickey Mouse together. You think that this, if I had to engineer this, would it meet the code of 100 pounds per square foot with mesh? Have you ever seen mesh on a fire escape? Skinny mesh and welded here at the seam. So this doesn't matter. This doesn't. You can put it over here. So do you understand the question here?
Yeah.
So it's one of those that somebody just put this on here. This was just thrown in on here. So as soon as he tells me a little bit more about the situation, I'll find out whether or not they're meeting the means of egress. But this was Mickey Mouse into here, and this will not pass a calculated load test. No engineer will come in here and sign off that this meets the 100 pounds per square foot. Not with mesh. Mesh is never an acceptable means of platform. So this is that building that they threw this on after the fact to satisfy the means of egress?
I imagine so.
Okay. Number two is, no one, based on the age of when this thing was built, the rails are all wrong. There was probably never a permit pulled on this. It's not attached correctly. That has to be epoxy bolted, not sleeve anchored into the building. You cannot use mesh ever on a fire escape as a catwalk system. It has to be bar grading or it has to be bars that go a certain span. So if I was to do an engineered calculated load test, this would not pass. The rails would not pass. Children can fall through.
Not only that,
you can't have this ladder. This ladder is going to smash into this thing down here, but it's illegal. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to step here and go to there. If you go check the permit on this, I bet you this was never permitted. This was just thrown in here, and there's no permit for this existing fire escape. Now, the fire escape can be exactly here where it is, but it needs staircases. And it needs to be double its width, because you got to walk on it, feed the stair, come down, and then go back to the. So this needs a full staircase. So this is one of those.
This is the escape window. That's not the escape window.
Right.
I have a question is, look how far away you
Yeah, this ladder is illegal. You'll never see this.
You see what I'm
So that's the beauty. When you look at fire escapes and this stuff doesn't make any sense, it's illegal. And no, it's grandfathered in. No, it isn't. And whenever they pull the grandfather clause on you, say, let's go back to D.C., look for the permit that allowed you to build it, because there's plans showing this. And when you get there, there's no plans showing this. There's no plans, no permits to build it. So this was put up illegally. And even if I was to load test, I can't load test it. The grading, the superstructure, the framing, the mesh, everything is wrong. This was done by Joe Welder, helping out a buddy. You know what I'm saying? So this thing is basically, you're right, a repair paint test. Automatically the guy coming in says, I can't offer a repair deficiency report on this because it's not built to code today or 50 years ago, and then you guys will do the investigation looking for.
If you look up, if you come on this side right here where I'm standing at, look at the ladder.
Yeah.
Look where it's broken.
Right. See
so
this?
Now I got people stuck off the 6th, 7th, and 8th. I mean, well, 6th, 7th, and 8th floor.
Right.
Because the 5th floor ladder is now broke.
Well, what's supposed to happen is people come up off the top, they go there, come down, then they came to the middle, come down, go here, and what they did was create a break so there wasn't such a big long hole. If you continue this all the way up, they did that so in case anybody fell up above, they wouldn't come all the way through the chute. But you're allowed to break it. See, if all this fire escape had a middle break, it would be acceptable because you from either side or either window you can access the ladder.
I see the ladder.
You understand? But aside from that, this was a Mickey Mouse ladder. These rails are non-conforming. These rails children can fall through. The grating is mesh, illegal. The frame of the frame, everything is 2 by 2. Everything is 2 by 2 by quarter thickness. Look, the frame on this is not even.
That's angle.
It's flat bar. Flat bar with mesh welded to it. Illegal. So this whole fire escape is in an illegal structure, and it's supposed to have been metal stairs. Because remember I told you no ladders are acceptable under the past code or the current code.
Right.
So they were trying to use the grandfather code. Oh, this is grandfathered in. Okay, let's go see it in the record books, in the permit process, where this was designed by an architect and stamped by an engineer to build this. I'd love to see what guy designed this to be built this way. And that automatically starts the ball rolling. Today, you have to meet today's code. You know what today's code might be? If you choose to pick on them, full doors at the windows coming out to a fire escape system. Yeah, no, I know. You need doors. You decide whether or not you're going to allow them to go out a window.
Go out that window.
That's a pre-existing condition that a fire marshal can make that determination if he wishes otherwise. Today, they throw lawyers at you. I want doors to fire escapes to stairs all the way to the ground. And they have plenty of room here.
What are you saying about this ladder right here?
Ladder's illegal. We'll see.
But you said something. You said something else. Something about something being too far or something.
Yeah, you know, my point is an adult can lean over and think this through. A 3-year-old child, can they get their foot without committing their weight over? So a 3-pound child would have to. And now they're committed, meaning they either get it or they don't get it or they fall right through. So that's illegal. You never, the maximum hold is 24 inches.
Right.
So a small child can span 24 inches and get to the ladder and then start going down. Because you can't carry a child and come down a ladder.
Right.
So let's do this. There's another one right around the corner.
We got 2 more right here.
So this one is not even a rivet issue. It's not even a bolt issue. And it's improperly secured to the building. So this whole thing is a life safety issue. As it stands. So now, as we walk to this one, and there's one in that little corner down there too, which is great.
2 more. We got one right here too.
Perfect. So, now let's talk about a couple of things. From far away, more paint than rust or more rust than paint?
More paint than rust.
Okay, so now you don't have a deterioration. So now you have to look for structural issues, right? Now this looks like a fire escape that's all welded. What happens when you have an all-welded fire escape?
The well's got to be checked.
Right. So can you verify any of these welds right now just with the naked eye?
No.
See the cage for the box?
Right,
So
I see you're talking about the cage.
There's a cage for the box?
The cage is taller than
See the
box.
through bolt that comes out of the building? That looks original? So that means it's proper. Is it sleeve anchored or you think that's through bolted? Through bolt, because it's got an original huge honking thing there. Now, this mesh is similar to this mesh.
Right.
Okay. Now, you think
that's thicker than
the little mesh over there. So you'll see a lot of older buildings, not traditional anymore, but this heavy-duty one, you can use it. Nobody uses it anymore, but they can. So this looks like it's been retrofitted as a fire escape. Okay. But so more paint than rust or more rust than paint, and you're looking for now on the treads. They're all welded. Right. Can I verify that every single one of those welds is in good condition from down here?
I can't because I
not
can't
really.
see.
Nobody can.
No.
So you want to get a certification. In order for me to let you load test this, and for me to allow you to load test, what would I minimally want on a lot of these welded connections?
A bolt.
A reinforcement bolt of some kind. And as soon as I put a reinforcement bolt of some kind, which is a minor refurbishment for this thing, this thing will pass inspection. And who can paint it? Anybody. So now with that, let's take a look at this cantilever. Yeah.
Cisco up there on the platform.
Yeah, that's the pulley system.
Okay.
And this doesn't have, as you can see, this is a fairly new construction, I can tell. And you may want to now look at it to say, hey, did they meet the code for the rails? Do you want some more lines on the rails? Can I pull this thing down? Because if it has a release arm now, here's a life safety issue for you. That railing on the corner, is that gap, that huge gap on the corner, is that acceptable? By the rails. Can anybody fall on either side as a child?
Yes.
So that's the only violation you have right now. So right now you have a violation on this, and you write repair, paint, test.
Right.
All because it's missing rails.
Right.
You didn't see anything else, but that's not your job to find anything else. And it's not deteriorated. It looks like the guy's been painting because it's fairly new. This farscape is about 25 years old or less. Take a look at this one. Is that weight box controlled in case the cable gives way?
Yes.
It is? Above it. See, that's just where it's resting.
No, okay.
All right, so now, if it gives way, can this thing crush your head, this staircase?
Yeah.
So if there was a locking mechanism on this, in case the cable gave way, it'll hold the stair and pull it. So that's where the release mechanism. Can this come down with this trash thing in the way?
No.
All right, so this looks like fairly new construction. You know how you can tell it's fairly new construction? Look at all the grading. See the little bars welded in there? That tells you this farscape is 25 years old or less, because usually it has the little spacers.
Oh, okay.
So now, this is a great one though, right? Right. The farscape is fairly new construction, 25 years older. More rust than paint, or more paint than rust?
More rust than paint.
There you go. Do you need to really figure out the structural on this one?
No.
Has he been maintaining it over the past 25 years? So that's all you need. You write, it's got more rust than paint. Repair, paint, test. When he asks you, what's repair mean? The thing is brand new. I had it built by the best iron worker in town. He says, yeah, I know. Just have an inspector prove that. That's all. That the farscape was built correctly and that the connections are all good, because you're letting it rust. You're making every one of these connections what's called suspect. Now, look at all these connections that are welded and see if you don't see that actually, you can see all the rusty tears. This is a perfect example. Look over there and see if the rust, it hasn't got into all the welds. If you come this way and just look that way, look, that's a great shot. It looks great. See that? See over there, you can see, even to the point where you go back about 4 treads, look at that big one with a big gap on it. Right here. Tread number 1, 2, 3, 4. See the big gap?
Right.
Yeah.
You want me to sign off on that and let it be load tested?
Right.
So now, do I have a choice? Do I cut all those welds, or do I blow 2 new bolts into it, a front one and a rear one, and I seal it from above? Can I load test it now?
These bolts to reinforce
perfect. And now, with the EPA situation, can I weld on farscapes now that are older than 1978? And this one seems to be. So to avoid the EPA lead laws, all I need to do is seal up anything that's cracks and crevices and rebolt it. So leave my welds, but rebolt. And this is why we don't weld farscapes, is because the cracks and crevices are never sealed, and they start tearing. These are called dragon tears. And all this rusty tears at connection is an indicator that nobody's painting it and nobody's sealing it. But we don't need to go that far in the structural. This fire escape is structurally unsound.